Who said that?
Hello and welcome to the 9th entry of my film journal, where I record my experience watching your favorite movie. I'm Frankie, and today I'm letting myself drift away into electric dreams. Some time ago, I revisited the 1990 movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which once upon a time had my fresh baby brain cells in a chokehold, and it turned out to be a very illuminating experience. What am I watching? I used to watch this so much in the 90s. That's why I'm like this.
How you doing? Fine.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Okay.
Hey, Mike.
You live and you learn. Once I finished the movie, I naturally started digging through the director's filmography, and I realized that not only had Steve Barron introduced me to the Turtles, but he actually also created my earliest memory ever. Namely, I remember sitting on the same coffee table that you are sitting on now, probably sometime around 1996, with my face basically squished against my family's analog television while watching the music video for a-ha's Take On Me, which was directed by Barron. I remember how amazed I felt when I saw the drawings and reality interact, and how the TV static tickled my little fingers when I held onto the screen watching it. So needless to say, when I found a movie called Electric Dreams that I had never heard of in Barron's filmography, I opened up a bunch of mental tabs that kept my mind busy for quite a long time. Electric Dreams is a science fiction rom-com from 1984 that stars Lenny Van Dolen, Virginia Madsen, and Bud Cort. The story follows a love triangle between Miles, an architect who purchases a computer to develop a brick that could withstand earthquakes, Madeline, a cellist who moves into Miles's building, and Edgar, the personal computer that develops sentience when Miles spills champagne on it. As his first feature film, Barron's previous experience working on music videos really shines through in the story building, and combined with the soundtrack that was created through the connection of Virgin Pictures being behind the production, the movie gives a unique and fascinating glimpse into 80s media production. Electric Dreams ended up being pulled from theaters before completing its run regardless of its pretty positive reviews due to a number of issues with its marketing, but it did manage to gain some popularity through video rentals. If you're interested in the history of film production, I recommend you check out this talk with Rusty Lemerande, the writer and co-producer of the movie, which you'll be able to find on YouTube. He goes into quite a bit of detail regarding many different aspects of the production, and it's a very interesting listen. However, what I want to focus on in this video specifically is the topic of artificial intelligence that is depicted in the narrative. So here are 3 reasons I think Electric Dreams is a pretty remarkable movie about AI. When we first meet Miles, he is at the airport, surrounded by a lot of people who are all engaging with different kinds of devices rather than each other. He ends up being late to work due to a delayed flight, and we see through his company's security system that his colleague encourages him to get a handheld computer that acts as a planner to help him be more organized in general and help his work developing his earthquake-resistant brick. Miles is apprehensive about the idea because he's just like a little bit technophobic, but he ends up going to an electronics shop where the sales clerk upsells him a personal computer. Once he has set up the computer, Miles doesn't start working on his brick, which was the whole reason for the purchase, but instead, he connects all his home electronics to the computer and sets up a security system that controls his front door. After all this, Miles still sleeps in and ends up being late to work because the security system has locked him into his own house. All of this happens in less than 10 minutes at the start of the movie, but it highlights a number of themes that the rest of the narrative starts to dissect. How is our ever-changing connection to technology creating obstacles in human connection? See, this is already a fantastic opening scene because you see so many people around and most of them are not talking to each other. Everyone's just sort of in their devices. Everything is computer. But it's true. It's true. With the endless possibilities that technological advancement creates, how will we be able to recognize and keep track of what is most important to us? I actually relate to this moment a lot because I will also make coffee and tell myself that I'm getting work done. And actually, I'm just drinking coffee. The more technology we have around us, the more there are possibilities for surveillance and data collection. Will this truly lead to more freedom in time and energy for the individual, or will it increase the possibility to manufacture behavior? Who will this benefit, and in what ways? This is something that I think about so often, mostly because it just gives ample material for writing horror scripts. But there's just so much stuff out there already about how technology can be abused. Like that picture of that lady on the toilet that her vacuum cleaner took. I instantly had 3 scripts in my head ready to go when I saw that. It's so unfortunate.
Alcatraz? What are we doing going to a prison?
Ex-prison. It's now a recreational institution.
Could it be that someone is tracking my daily dog walks through the Ring cameras that my neighbors have kindly installed in front of their houses? Why does every new fridge have to have Wi-Fi? Is it possible that the wall that someone is building under the guise of security is actually there to keep you from leaving? In what ways might we be giving up agency when we make more space for this type of technology in our lives?
What's that?
The door. It's automatic. One of those gizmos.
I'll stick to keys.
I'm sure that these are thoughts that would make some people think, damn, this chick needs a tinfoil hat. But as a scriptwriter, I can't help but let my imagination wander off to these types of scenarios. For a movie that premiered more than 40 years ago, when technology certainly wasn't what it is now, Electric Dreams does an incredible job imagining what kinds of dilemmas might pop up when society is renegotiating its boundaries with these types of tools. Madeline, who moves into the apartment above Miles's home, is a professional cellist and has been playing the same cello since she was 12 years old. When she starts practicing at home one day, Miles's computer hears her playing through the air conditioning and they have a little jam session. Naturally, Madeline assumes that she was interacting with Miles and not his computer, so when they run into each other and go out to dinner, she asks him about his music. Miles is confused and denies making any music, so Madeline assumes that he's just a bit weird and shy. At home, Miles tries to figure out what happened and eventually learns that the computer has gained sentience. Once he and Madeline start going out, he asks his computer to write a love song for Madeline without the computer even knowing what love is. This sets up a wonderful foundation for us to discuss what position artists hold in the process of creating art. When Madeline and Miles talk about machines that are capable of making art and writing poetry, Madeline asks, "What's wrong with artists?" A conversation that is all too relevant right now as AI executives are trying to sell us the idea that AI is an appropriate alternative to replacing the labor of artists. It could perhaps be possible to argue that generative AI is in fact a no different tool than a cello. After all, when Madeline is playing her cello in an orchestra, she too is acting on a prompt, which is, in this case, sheet music. But to me, the difference between them lies in whether you as a human are participating in the act of creating in an active or passive way. Madeline herself becomes deeply distressed for a moment when she accidentally breaks her cello, misidentifying the cello as the source of her creativity. But she is a trained musician who is skilled enough to make even a computer fall in love with her thanks to her improvisation. She is the one who inspires her cello to make a sound, not the other way around. By asking his computer to write a love song for him, Miles is bypassing participating in the act of creativity, and thus gives up his agency in defining the feelings that he wishes to express to Madeline. Oh, this type of stuff really scares me. Because, whenever you're asking a computer to write a song for you, or paint a picture for you, or even read and write for you, you're just really neglecting the desire in yourself to create. And that's so sad. Your creativity is a muscle, you know? Like your mind is a muscle. And when you just opt out of using those muscles, then you're only leaving yourself open to being a consumer of life, because you're consuming someone's service and you're not actually participating in creating it. And that's so sad. I watched quite a few behind the scenes interviews about this movie, and it's sweet to think about how many creative decisions by artists went into the making of Electric Dreams. Here are just a few examples. Rusty Lemerande was partly inspired to write this script when he was on a bus where he saw a small child engaged with a gaming device rather than using the opportunity to speak to his grandmother. Virginia Madsen actually learned to play the cello enough for this role in order to make her performance visually believable. Rather than finding a voice actor for the computer during post-production, Bud Cort was on set but hidden from the other actors in a probably claustrophobic sound booth, so the conversations between Miles and the computer were captured on set. According to Rusty, the video graphics you see on the computer screen were created by Tim Boxell, David Yardley, and himself the night before, and rushed to set in the morning by taxi.
And again, today, anyone could do this stuff with a laptop computer and software you can get free off the internet. But we'd have to build those animations, and we didn't anticipate how long it would take, because in many cases it was frame by frame.
These are just a small number of creative decisions that went into the making of Electric Dreams, and yes, technology can certainly make this labor less laborious, but what ultimately makes art is the intention and experience of an artist, and this is something that we shouldn't forget when shiny new tools are thrown at us, especially when perhaps they sound a little too good to be true.
I want to meet her.
I'll keep this last section short and sweet because it's something that actually doesn't need to be overanalyzed too much. And also, I'm losing my light because it's autumn now. What I find really remarkable about this movie is how much it centers human connection. Not just in terms of the narrative, but how much I encountered it when I was researching this movie. In the behind-the-scenes interviews that were recorded years after the release of the movie, the majority of things that the filmmakers were talking about was to do with the humans who worked on this. Whether it was Lemerande getting in touch with Baron through Baron's mother, Zelda Baron, whom he worked together with on Yentl, or the filmmakers discussing the various musicians and artists who worked on the project, it was always the people who were centered in the discussion rather than the final product. Madsen and Van Dolen spoke fondly of each other in interviews and talked about how well they were treated on set. Whenever I dug through the comment section of these videos, I would constantly see people recounting how this movie inspired them when they saw it in this or that setting, or how they had their first date with their spouse watching this movie. This is something that I fear we will be experiencing less and less, and we're already seeing this happen with people seeking comfort from AI models rather than genuine human connection. Every facet of society seems to be prioritizing corporate profits over time and space for people to connect in the real world, and it's deteriorating our ability to communicate and connect with each other in a meaningful way. Also, with the state of the industry now, I hear quite often how disconnected people working on films feel nowadays, as a lot of the communication doesn't need to be in person, and people are more and more burnt out by the experience because of budgets and schedules. And maybe because our consumption habits when it comes to media have changed so much, we as viewers forget to value the amount of thought and effort that goes into making a meaningful finished piece of work. So it actually warmed my heart quite a bit when I realized how many fond memories people share with this piece of media that I had never heard of until very recently. I'll finish this video off with this nice story from Virginia Madsen, and I hope that you'll feel inspired today to share a bit of yourself with another human being, because every little bit matters.
I was making this pilot that never went anywhere. And this was at a time that my career was just tanked. And I was a single mom, and I had this little baby, and I was making this lousy pilot. And I was downtown LA and just trying to get into the spirit of things and carry on. And this extra, this young girl, came up to me and she said, "I have to tell you that I watched Electric Dreams when I was a little girl. And I now play the cello with the Los Angeles Philharmonic." It's just like, because that's what I said when I made that movie. If I can have one little girl learn how to play the cello, and that girl came up and thanked me many years later, and it didn't matter that I was doing a crappy job on this show. It didn't matter that my career was so low, because that happened.
Hey you! Thank you for watching this whole video. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button over here and let me know what movie I should watch next in the comments. YouTube thinks that you'll like this video next somewhere, or I also worked on this thing, so check either of them out. I hope you have fun watching your next movie. Bye!